Hello, Umi, could you hear me? Oh, okay. By the way, you are in the wrong bilik sidang. Please enter bilik sidang 3.
Hi, prep time is over. Can I confirm that both teams are here? Trinity?
Yes, we're all here.
Okay. And Debonaires. Is your whole team here?
My whip speaker is having a problem joining the meet.
Okay. No worries. We will just wait for your speaker. Let us know when they are ready. Okay.
He says he's still in backstage.
Hmm. Outcome? You think you can help them out? Is your whip still there in the backstage?
Yes, he's still in backstage.
Okay. Maybe you can ask them to try to leave and join again, because it might. Yeah. Just give that a shot. Okay. Is that your whip?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay. Looks like it. Okay. So, yeah, just reminder, speaker 7 minutes, POIs in the chat if possible. Yeah, on the motion that this house believes that children should be taught about the harsh realities in life as opposed to being instilled hope and optimism. This house like to invite the Prime Minister to start the debate. Here.
Alright. Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Assalamualaikum and a very good day to Mr. Speaker, honorable panel of adjudicators, accurate timekeeper, fellow teammates and opponents, also everyone in this debate. The motion, this House believes that children should be taught about harsh realities in life as opposed to being instilled hope and optimism. The government side will truly propose today's debate with our stance. Truth shapes better personality and prospects. Standing as Prime Minister, my roles is simple, which first, I'll be doing characterization and tailor this motion to where this debate should be, and introduce one argument from our side. My Deputy Prime Minister over here will rebut the lies and misconceptions provided by the Leader of Opposition, as well as providing another argument to strengthen our wall of defense. Lastly, my whip speaker over there will clear all the loopholes coming from the opposition side, as well as providing clashes of the debate to prove to you as to why this debate should go to side government. So, for the burdens, um, first, the burden we would like to push for the side of government is how teaching harsh reality, which is the truth, will nurture their maturity. Secondly, how does knowing the bitter truth opens the door to more realistic hope and alternatives? And also, the burden we are claiming from the opposition to prove today is why telling them hope that can be uncertain won't harm them in the long run. And secondly, what are the actual benefits of you instilling optimism in this unfair world? And now I will start my characterization of this motion. Um, Starting simple, I will explain it under a few keywords. So the first one is children, which means a young human being below the age of puberty or below the legal age of majority. Secondly, taught, which means cause someone to learn or understand something by example or experience. And next, harsh realities, which is an unpleasant yet true condition of a situation. And instill, which means to introduce something. And hope, which is the process of setting goals and following them. And lastly, optimism, which is having a positive thought pattern. So, to make it sound clearer, this debate is about how children, how a young human being below the age of puberty um, should be educated to understand something um, about an unpleasant yet true condition of a situation um, in life, as opposed to um, having a process of setting goals and having a positive thought pattern. Okay. And now the status quo of now we the government side is clarifying that doesn't mean um, when you are trying to tell a harsh reality, you have to tell it in a harsh way. Opposition needs to understand the fine line between this. And what we are highlighting today um, is to teach them about this harsh reality, to explain thoroughly, like how um, I define, just to ensure that these future leaders understand the real context of it for the sake of them. And now the status quo of this debate is children believe that future can only be achieved in just one direction of life, which can be uncertain. And the stakeholders for today's debate are the parents and children. So the parents, like how they expose this bitter truth to their children, and for the children, how they accept the harsh reality that awaits them. Done with my characterization, um, I will move to my argumentation. So, how does the bitter truth nurture their maturity? So, when children are exposed to the harsh reality, they realize at an early age that this world is not all sunshines and rainbows. And this applies to children from all walks of life, as they have their own challenges. So the children will start to think like adults by making decisions, making wise decisions, and it gives them better chances of succeeding at what they do. And they would not make silly mistakes, as they would think before they do. And this is a wise trait that should be embedded in them from an early age. And this will shape their character to prepare them for the challenging future that lies ahead of them. Therefore, we will have children that have a mature personality that will help them succeed when they grow older. With all the substances I provided in my speech, it proves to you on why this debate should fall on the side government. Truly, we care about the parents and the children's better, and um, we acknowledge that the children believe that the future can only be achieved in just one direction of life, which can be uncertain. Lastly, if you think that um, Lastly, if you think that we provide a better future for the children, do stand with government. With that, I rest my case. Thank you.
This House like to thank the Prime Minister for his speech and like to invite the Leader of Opposition to start opposition debate. Here.
First and foremost, can you hear my voice?
Yeah.
Okay. Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to the government side, to my fellow oppositions, and to the educators, and to the timekeeper. I, Muhammad Irfan bin Ahmad Ramizu, as the lead opposition for the opposition team, I would like to rebut and give my points about this motion which is this house believes that children should be taught about harsh realities in life as opposed to be instilled and hope for optimism. Okay. Okay, under our status quo, we as the opposition, we strongly oppose uh, this thought. Okay, under the status quo, children are instilled with the usual principle of life, such as miracles happen sometimes. Okay, and um, okay, and for the burden of proof that I want to present today are one, hope and optimism is a form of defense for children in the world. And the second burden of proof that I want to present today is hope and positivity generates a sense of self in children. Okay, and moving on to the rebuttals. Okay, Mr. Prime Minister said that they want to explain the harsh reality in a harsh way. Why do you want to explain it in a harsh way? Doesn't that will disturb the children's thinking as they grow up? They will feel more confused if you taught them in a harsh way. And children, children are children. You specify children which are the age below puberty. They really need affection. They really need affection to grow up. They really need support from their families, from the people around them as they want to grow up to become a better person in life. Okay, and you also stated
POI,
that
please.
no, please. Children's. You also stated that children should not make silly mistakes. Okay, is it wrong to make silly mistakes? I, as a children, I do make a lot of the silly mistakes. I even get called not like in a Malay way it is called chuai. Okay, I forgot what chuai is in English. Okay, I get called that word when I was in kindergarten, as I do not perform well in maths. Yes, my kindergarten was so strict back then. Okay, is it wrong for children to make mistakes? With those mistakes, children will learn how to improve in their life to become a better person in the future. Okay, like Spider-Man said in their movies. Okay, when Dr. Ock asks Spider-Man, "How are you feeling?" and Peter Parker will answer, "I'm trying to be better." Okay, that is what we need in children. We need the children to try to improve themselves so that they can become better in the future. Okay, and you also stated that children should start thinking like adults, but you specify children before the age of puberty, below puberty. Okay, they should start thinking like adults when they start to undergo puberty. Okay, as for children, they need to have a fun mind so that they can enjoy their life as a children. You don't want to make the children to feel stressed out early. Okay,
POI,
they need
please.
to be no, please, thank you. They need to be taught in a fun way, in full affection, so that they can grow up to be a kind person, to be an affectionate person, to be a better person. Okay, moving on to my points. Okay, from the BOP, hope and optimism is a form of defense. Hope and positivity generates a sense of self in children. I'm so sorry. Because of this, children's reform the spirit of humanity. Okay, they will, because of this, they will have something to hold on to in life. For example, it's like a life principle. Okay, to help them be themselves, be who they are. Okay, not teaching them to be what others people want them to be. Okay, they need to be who they want to be. They need to be who they are, so that
Your
they
eye,
can be
please, sir.
themselves. No, thank you. I'm so sorry, but no. Okay, children's okay. Because of hope and positivity generates a sense of self in children. Children's love towards others will be strengthened. Okay, the bond between the children to the parents, the children to their brothers, the children to their friends will be strengthened. And because of this, children will learn to appreciate the people around them more, so that less fights will occur among them and less stress will occur among children. Okay, okay. Children know evil exists in the first place, and they are not fully ignorant, but the problems can be solved with the guidance of parents and guidance of teachers too. Okay. Okay, where was I? Okay. Are they not worth? Are they not worth a moment of bliss if they know everything is all right? Are they not worth a moment of bliss? They should. Okay, because of the positivity that is generated, the children are not too anxious about the problems when they face it now or in the future. Why? Because the positive mind will let the children adapt to solve the problem in a positive way rather than getting mad or something. Their thinking will be more rational as they grow up and not just going down the rabbit hole, not just screaming out on other people, letting know that they are mad. No, that's not the right solution to solve a problem, okay? Under our stance, positive mind will lead to a positive line. I end my presentation now. Thank you.
Okay, this sounds like the time the leader of opposition for a speech would like to invite the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the government. Cheer here.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
All right. You don't tell the kids, which is our future leaders, that every story comes with a good ending, that Barbie will eventually marry Ken, that every princess will be saved by the prince, that Cinderella will continue to live when the prince kisses her. Giving the uncertainty under the disguised curtain of hope or optimism will dim their future in the long term. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day I bid to everyone. So today we are still debating on the same controversial issue, which is this house believes that children should be taught about harsh realities in life as opposed to being instilled hope and optimism. Standing as the Deputy Prime Minister, I proudly propose to today's debate simply our stand. Truth shapes a better personality and prospects in the future. So, standing as a Deputy Prime Minister again, the role coming from my side is very simple. Which is first, I will respond to the I will respond to the case brought up by the opposition, as well as providing rebuttals, and also provide another argumentation from our side to prove you why today's debate should fall on the side of government. So, without further ado, let's move to my rebuttals. There's a lot of things I have to say. So, first of all, the opposition side said that miracles happen sometimes. Yes, we acknowledge that it happens sometimes. But how often does it happen? How can be so sure that the luck is always on our side? And what happened if it doesn't fall on your side? You fail to clarify that. Second, I feel very, very disappointed that the opposition side really don't pay close attention to what my prime minister has already stated. We have already give a fine line. That doesn't mean you are telling a harsh thing. It has to be harsh way. This is where the context of teaching comes into place. We are teaching them, we are educating them, explain truly so that they will understand how the harsh reality will affect them, so that they will understand and accept it with an open heart. The opposition side fail to understand that. Third, they said he quoted some quote from the Spider-Man. I'm trying to be better. Fine, you are. But you still need to know what will happen if plan A doesn't work. You need to have plan B. You need to have plan C or any other plans. Like what Michelle Jones also in Spider-Man said, that expect disappointment and you won't be disappointed. What this means that you have to acknowledge that the harsh reality does exist in this world, and you need to be exposed with it you have to be exposed in it in your early life, so that you will be prepared in the future, so that you will be prepared and ready when you achieve your adult phase of life. Third, fourth, they say that these children should start thinking when they are adults, should start thinking in a mature manner when they are adults. That's the reason why depression cases has been continually increasing day by day. Because why? Because they are not ready to face the consequences of the harsh reality that is happening at the end of the day. They know nothing when they are kids because they are clueless. So when they are clueless of what their future, when they are clueless, when they face this harsh reality in the future, what will the future will be, and this is how hard they will continue to live in the adult phase. So moving so and my last level of my rebuttals, he said that about the spirit of humanity. What if spirit of humanity, so having hope will give them encouragement to continue on living, fine, but what if what they hold into doesn't work at the end of the day? What is that plan, what is that the quote that you believe so much doesn't you believe so much backlashes you at the end of the day? Do you see this, the opposition side? No, you don't, because by the government side we see in the long run, because we want to prepare the children, we want to prepare these kids in order for them to accept disappointment in the right manner, for them to actually acknowledge that hardship exists, for them to actually be a, be have for them to actually knows what they should do when they face disappointment of this harsh reality. That's done well in battle session. Let's move to my argumentation. Are the keywords? How knowing bitter truth opens the door to more realistic hope and alternatives. Why? First, we teach them to understand that the world is never going to be fair. Corruption happens everywhere. This world that we live in is not a fantasy world that is not a fantasy world where it will end with all happy endings. This world is not what Disney told us. Instead, we explain to these children with love and with affection in the context of teaching. We explain to these children in order for them to realize the context of what the world they are stepping on. For instance, let's say your child wants to be a doctor. You know how harsh the reality to be a doctor in Malaysia itself today. How doctors were mistreated in the health sector, how their job is not guaranteed, how they were employed just only by the type of a contract. For you to be optimistic, telling them to go on, just be a doctor without explaining what's the underlying truth beneath the hard times being a doctor, we think you are creating a false narrative. We think you are creating a utopia for your child. You are actually harming them in the future itself, because when they face their adult phase, when they face the disappointment, they don't know what to do. They will feel hopeless. And this is what we are trying to avoid from the government side and our worst case scenario. But if you choose to be honest with them in their early phase of life, you choose to honest with them with the right approach, you will trigger their mind to start thinking critically, and finally they will search for a more realistic hope that ensures their future at the end of the day. Then you guide them, as the parents, you guide them to finally see what a real world is going to look like. As a stakeholder, as the parent, you have to guide them. So to encourage them to find alternatives so that they won't be crushed by the uncertainty, like how the opposition is trying to propose, lying and the optimism is is can be avoided. You may say that they were facing some problems. That's where the context of teaching comes to action, because we concede the fact that they are children, we concede the fact they need attention and social exposure. That is why we have to teach them to accept harsh reality at the end of the day. So with this, they will be ready for the future, and when they finally reach adulthood, they will be thankful to their parents as they realize early what the world actually looks like, and for them to not be dancing aimlessly in the wonderland of their utopia, such as the one that proposed by the side of opposition. So, what the government side wants today. We want a child who understands the bitter truth of reality and be a realistic human being and be ready when things does not go right, to ensure their shines continue being lights up in the future, because they are our future leaders. Take in mind of that. What we don't want is to see the child getting messed up, crushed when they were finally exposed to the harsh reality only with the time they face it, which is the adult phase, like how the opposition is trying to do today. So, lastly, If you want a realistic future leaders, which is our children being nurtured, stand with the government. Thank you. I end my speech. Never been proud to propose.
Okay, this helps us to thank the Deputy Prime Minister for the speech. I'd like to invite the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
The greatest form of offense is defense itself. Before I go into my speech, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day I bid to the educators, timekeeper, fellow opponents, and allies, and also members of the floor. Today, I, as the second speaker, will be rebutting the points given by the government, and also give my points under the key phrase of hope, hope and optimism as our defense. The government has been telling us how by giving them by how telling them harsh realities in also loving way will be preparing them to face the outside world in the meantime. But ladies and gentlemen, how sure are you the way that you're trying to do so is not going to be interpreted by the children itself. As we know, children have delicate their minds are to be nurtured with full love and affection. Their way of showing harsh realities at such an early age is going to give them is going to open their minds to a bit too much of everything. Having too much everything is not exactly a good thing, because uh, because children, as we know, children and naturally would have a one-track mind. They cannot actually juggle everything they have on the mind at the same time. They need to little by little. That is why we are prioritizing them for them to learn the good things. We are prioritizing them to instill hope and optimism in themselves, so that they would have something to hold on to in the future. And the deputy prime minister have said that by having in that those principles that they hold might just be shattered in the meantime. But ladies and
Your eye,
gentlemen,
please.
later I will take it you later. However, I will be explaining that furthermore in my point. Now also, uh, and also like my prime minister have stated to them, they are trying to stop them from making mistakes so they will not make silly mistakes. Ladies and gentlemen, silly mistakes, is that really a bad thing? Mistakes are a process of learning. Are you trying to say that mistakes are unforgivable in the first place? While yes, it is good trying to prevent them in the first place. However, it is still the best way to learn, which is through experience. Now I suppose it's time to go into my point under the key phrase of hope and optimism is our defense. like I said before, children have one-track minds. They don't actually, they cannot actually juggle everything in their mind and at the same time. They need to juggle things one by one. They learn things one by one. That is why we are trying to instill the most important thing that will help them in the future. That is hope and optimism. Hope and optimism will be helping them even in the worst times. If we were to take on stories, I would say like Pandora's box, the legendary story of how even and after the dark spirits of the evils of the world will let off, hope is there at the bottom. But that is only because Pandora actually decided to look for it because she thought there was something else in there. If we were to just put on harsh realities in the first place at such an early age, they might just neglect to remember what we try to instill in the first place, which is hope and optimism. They would think of the worst possibilities ever. Even now, there are cases of anxiety. Why? Because because as those people, they forget about hope. They forget about the other types of possibilities. They think about the worst anxiety, the worst type of possibility that could possibly happen. Like for example, they see a fan and then they think that the fan could suddenly fall onto them. While that, while that is, while that is quite a far off possibility, but nonetheless, that is because as they fail to think of the goodness in the bad. In our world, our hope and optimism will ensure them to keep moving forward, keep making mistakes in order for them to be being successful in the one day. And so it actually gives us a whole guarantee to get out. No matter how low you get, you're going to be okay, even if the odds might not seem in your favor. If it can only get better, it won't get any worse. And hope is something that you can only find if you know and believe that you can find it. People losing hope is one of the worst things that could happen. Because when you lose hope itself, you can never find it because you think that's not there. Can you find something? Can you find something that you think doesn't exist in the first place?
POI, please.
You can't. Yes, sir.
Okay, let's say what if in the future they face something that they face a consequence, they face like a circumstance where they feel that their hopes cannot help them at the moment. How do you ensure that they will still continuing growing strongly? Please.
They still think, pardon me, but you said they still think hope can't help them. Oh, okay. Okay. Like I said before, I've said before, like mistakes. Mistakes are a way for us to learn learn effectively because we actually experience that. Learning from experience is much better from learning theoretically. Hope is at the end of the day somehow a way for us to ensure that there is a solution. Knowing that there is a solution itself is one way to ensure that you're out. Before I end my speech, the government side is trying to open the child's mind way too early to such harsh possibilities that would eventually put their minds into the rabbit hole where they think everything is going dark. But on our side, we are instilling them a prominent and permanent and strength of hope and optimism in themselves to ensure that one day that they will escape that burrow that they think they are trapped in. Because no matter what you think, there is hope at the end of the way, but only if you remember that it is there. With that, I end my speech.
Okay, this house like to thank the DLO for the speech. I would like to invite the Gov to end the Gov substantive speeches. Here.
Before I start, can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay.
Imagine wanting to become a doctor at the tender age of 8, with no one telling you the harsh reality that doctors have to go through only for you to grow up and become an adult without such awareness and to live miserably as your dreams have been crushed. But before that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon I bid to the adjudicators as well as members of the floor. I, as the whip speaker on side government, will be doing a few things for you today. Firstly, I'll be stating a few rebuttals from our side as to why a few rebuttals from our side. Secondly, I'll be stating a few clashes as to why our side wins this case at the end of the day. And thirdly, I'll be restating our stance and why our side wins this case. Right, so firstly, for my rebuttals, a few things that the opposition side has mentioned. Firstly, the deputy leader of opposition has mentioned that mistakes, the deputy leader of opposition as well as the leader of opposition have mentioned a few times that mistakes are part of life. Mistakes are the way of learning. Sure, we concede to the fact that yes, mistakes are part of learning. However, we as a government side never mentioned and never stated that mistakes are bad. We never once said that making a mistake is bad. However, we as a government side that cares, we want children to be prepared for the future that they will be facing on their own, right? We cannot paint a distorted picture and feed these children with lies that their future will always be okay, right? This is the kind of image that the opposition side is trying to paint and trying to feed children, right? However, are we actually? Let's see. Yes. So indirectly, however, our side we tell you that sure, mistakes. It's okay to make. We consider the fact that mistakes are part of learning. However, we tell you that not every mistake is forgivable to every person. Not everybody can accept that certain mistakes do impact one's future to an extent. The opposition side has completely dismissed this and has not engaged with us enough on this particular matter. They did not mention how certain mistakes can largely impact one's life to a certain degree. Sure, they're children. They are not able to rationalize this kind of matter. But we believe that we have mentioned before, as my Prime Minister and my Deputy Prime Ministers before, that we will slowly teach them nicely, kindly, surely, slowly. But we will not jam a whole bunch of information into them. We simply want to prepare them. Awareness. Our side believes in awareness. Right. So on to my next rebuttal. Right. So the opposition side has been talking about how we need to keep moving forward no matter what, and that there's a guarantee that things will always be okay. However, the opposition side has failed to prove to us as to what guarantee do you have that things will always be okay. The opposition side has not proven to us yet how this can be proven. How are things always going to be okay? Right. However, on our side, we do not tell you that you will always get what you want at the end of the day. However, we teach you on how we provide you with alternatives as to if A doesn't go well, what can you do? What are other ways that you can solve these issues at hand, right? We provide you with a safety net. However, the opposition side simply tells you, you go big or you go home. That's it. However, we on the government side, we give you a safety net. We tell you that there are other options out there for you, right? So now for my clashes. Onto my clashes. So let's compare the two worlds, the government side and the opposition side. And I will tell you why this debate goes to government side at the end of the day. Right. Firstly, my first clash would be on which side shapes more mature children. My second clash would be on which side is more harmful to children in the long run. And thirdly, my third clash will be which side ensures the future of the children more. Right. So firstly, onto my first clash. Which side shapes more mature children? Sure. So the government side, as you can see, the government side is focused on teaching and preparing children for what there is to come, right? However, the opposition side is teaching you that you should have fun. You can just make mistakes all the time when you're a child. However, if we compare these two worlds, the government side would shape more mature children, right? Because we tell you that sure, we understand. We understand that children have an extent to where they can digest the information and to what extent can they accept the information that we tell them. However, this is not an excuse to dismiss the fact that they can comprehend these things and that they can prepare themselves for the future that awaits them, right? So this shows that the government side truly builds and shapes more mature children, as compared to the opposition side that's simply trying to live in fairy tale and dreamland. Right, second, on to my second clash. Which side is more harmful to the children in the long term? Right, if you can see from the opposition side, they're simply talking about how they're simply living in a utopia, right? The scale that which they talk about the impacts of being hopeful, right, is very short term as compared to the world that government side offers for you. We are less harmful to children, and we provide a safer world because we simply prepare them for the future that waits. We tell you that the outcomes that come are not always favorable. However, that does not mean that you are not worthy of achieving success in other ways. We believe that life is not linear and that things can be achieved in other ways, in other forms, in other methods, and that success not necessarily in one way. Thirdly, for my third clash, which side ensures the future of the children more? Right. So as mentioned before, side government ensures children in the long term, as opposed to the opposition side, which prepares them for the short term and they tell you that the world, that there's always a chance. However, that they tell you that you can always live in a world where there is always that there's always a positive outcome at the end of the day. However, we tell you that even if there is no if you don't get what you want at the end of the day, there's still a chance for you to be a functional and be a good human being at the end of the day in other ways, and not necessarily what you had hoped for, but in other ways. And therefore, if you want a world that nurtures and builds children who are mature, who can become better leaders of tomorrow, and not be so strong when they don't get what they want, then go for side government, because we truly care for the betterment of the futures of tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, this sounds like the time the government for the speech. I'd like to invite the opposition to end the substantive speeches. Here.
Okay. A very good afternoon to the educators, the honorable judges, the punctual timekeepers, and also my allies on the opposition side, and also the government side. All right. Without wasting any time, I will move straight away into my rebuttals. As the first speaker of the government side have said that not everything is good in this world, and exposing the harsh reality to them would make exposing the harsh reality to children would make them be more prepared for when they are facing this harsh reality that will come in their life. I believe that we should not tell this harsh reality to children at a young age, because we do not want children to have a dark perspective towards the world ever since a young age. This will not only affect their perspective in a long term, but it will make them feel that there is no hope in this world. And we do not want children to be overrun by this harsh reality. Next, I will move on to my next rebuttal, where the second speaker of the government side has stated that knowing the truth opens to the realistic world. Letting children know the harsh reality of the world would definitely make them realize that the world is harsh and not everything is good in this world. As the example that has been given by the second speaker, which used that exposing harsh reality of becoming doctor is a great way to let them realize that becoming a doctor is not easy. However, this way of exposing the harsh reality of becoming a doctor not only is crushing their dreams and hope, but it is becoming not only crushing their dreams and hope to become a better person, but it will also affect them emotionally. How would you feel if your parents said that your little dreams of becoming a doctor will never work because it is very difficult to be a doctor? Next, I'll move on to the clashes between the
Yeah, sir.
government and. Wait, let me finish. I'll take you later. I will continue with the clashes. The government side have said that exposing this harsh reality to children is beneficial to them, but they are risking shattering the hope of these children. But on our side, the opposition side, we are not only um, we are not shattering their dreams and also their hopes, because not being truthful in the first place will not shatter their hope, so that they will learn this harsh reality through experience. And the government side has been agreeing that exposing harsh reality to children will not only affect them emotionally, but definitely shatter their hope and their dreams of becoming someone better in the future. However, on our side, the opposition, we are protecting these children emotionally and letting them learn all this harsh reality through experience, because not crushing their hope and dreams, because we are not crushing their hope and dreams like the government side is doing. Therefore, I will conclude that hiding the truth will not destroy children's hope, and letting them discover this harsh reality themselves would make them be more mature and be more prepared to face this harsh reality by themselves in the future. Therefore, I will end my speech with my stance that I've never been prouder to oppose the motion. This House believes that children should be taught about harsh realities in life as opposed to be instilled hope and optimism. With that, I read my case. Thank you.
Okay, this house will turn the output for the speech and will provide the opposition reply and the op bench. Here. Timekeeper, you can start the timer. It's a reply speech, not 4 minute speeches. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good day I bid back to all, and welcome back to the reply speech of today's debate. Now for the reply speech, before I go into my main point, I just want to point out how we as the opposition side has already fulfilled the burden of proof given by the opposition given by the government side, right? Telling that we have told them why uncertain hope is beneficial. I have my whole speech before was about hope being beneficial for the children to move forward, and also the benefits of instilling hope in children. That is self-explanated in my speech. Yes, now the main part in my and for the main part in my reply speech. Okay, to make it easier for all of us to understand, let's go for a more narrative view. Okay, in the government side, in their world, we have a child. He was explained to him the harsh realities of becoming something that he wants to be. He is told he is told by his parents, by his teachers, what sort of challenges that he would have to go through, and of course that would also include stories of tragedy, stories of how people have failed to do so. Now, ladies and gentlemen, and now, going on to our side, on our side, that child who wants to become something are instilled with good values, where hope is always there, where what they want to become is possible as long as they think it is possible. If you think something is possible, that you can do it. However, for a child to know that somebody failed to do so, that will make them feel like I have the chance to be bad at that also. Does that mean I will? Does that mean I? They will. That's one way of thinking will actually go down to overthinking, anxiety, things like that. Ladies and gentlemen, do we want that for our children on the government side? That is how they're trying to do. Well, yes, they're what's it called? Their initial their initial want to be is for both of us, government and opposition, both want children and children to be happy. We both want our children to achieve the possibilities. But the difference is how we're doing it. They're warning them much too early. They're giving them so many variables for them to think of. While on our side, we are instilling in them that things are possible as long as they know that they can. On their side, they know that they can and they cannot. But the cannot thing is very much highlighted, right, for them. Because whether we like it or not, although we hate something, that something that we hate and we are scared of so much will haunting us to the end. But unless we have hope, unless we believe that that something is something that we can defeat, we will be okay. On our side, children are learning through mistakes, learning through experience. The best teacher is experience itself, not simply warnings. Warnings will give them so much paranoia. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want our children to become people who know that you are possible, and whatever happens, I will be okay. I will try because that is my way. While on their side, they know the worst possible outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, and I hope that at the end of the debate you can see the differences between the government and the opposition, and see that on our on-side opposition, our side is actually catering to the children better. We are catering them. We are caring for them in the best possible way, making sure that there is a guarantee of belief that they can do it, and they can do it as long as they believe. With that, I thank you.
Okay, this sounds like the time for the reply speech. I would like to invite the girls' reply to end the debate. Here.
I'm sorry. I want to ask: is the timer set for 7 minutes or for 4 minutes? All right.
4 minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good day. Welcome again to the second arena of the debate. In my reply speech, I will just be doing two things. First, why we right, why they are wrong. Second, why we win, hence why we win today's debate. Ladies and gentlemen, why the opposition side is wrong. First, they try to create a utopia whereby hope and optimism is the only way you can continuously live on to be a better person. You have to remember, you have to concede the fact that hope is something that you aspire. It is not necessarily be true at the end of the day. So let me ask you a question. What is that hope that you put, that you cling on too much on your life, doesn't work at the end of the day? When you reach your adulthood, how will you respond to the harsh reality that you will face at the end of the day? Are you sure they can cope with the disappointment that they face? Second, they keep on telling that they're trying to protect the children. Are you sure that they're trying to protect the children by telling them lies that disguisedly say underlying in the context of hope or optimism? Let me ask you a question. When you have a friend, when your friend tells you lies just to comfort you, would you prefer that kind of fake friend? Would you want to be comforted in a way that you are in a way of telling, even to be told by a fake scenario? Do you want that kind of world? We don't want that, and we want to avoid that from being harm to our children at the end of the day. Third, they are too afraid. They are fear. They're too afraid, and they have been debating at their own bubbles by not understand the context of the debate. We have already clarified to you the context of the debate of teaching the harsh reality, whereby we don't tell them everything. We tell them with love, we tell them with affection, because we concede to the fact that they are still children and they need attention and they need exposure. So that is how the government is catering to the children. Second, why we are right on today's debate. First, we look further from the opposition side. We predict for the future that will not always come to your way, that will not always come to the way that you want it. But in the future, of course, in the future, when they are achieve their adulthood, but when you have already been exposed with the harsh adulthood, you will have more sense of sensibility of being realistic to ensure that your future can work at any way that you have prepared any way that you have prepared because you have exposed to it at the end of the day. So why we win today's debate? First, the opposition side underlook the capability of the child. That is a disappointment. They say the child cannot think as rational as how we believe that they can. They think the child could not adapt to the reality because they fear the word harsh, even if it's the truth. But instead, they feel comfortable laying a carpet of holiday, telling, "Yeah, as long as you have hope, you'll be fine." No, we don't want them to be harmed at the end of the day like this. To tell you where this debate is going. This debate is about how we nurture these children for the upcoming future, for the upcoming events that awaits them, which is which is the underlying harsh reality. This debate should go to the children who want their future to be ensured, no matter what obstacle comes in your way. And this debate goes to our future leaders who are matured and realistic and also provide benefits at the end of the day. And lastly, proudly to be say, this debate goes to the government side. Thank you.
Okay, this is how it's going, everyone, for the debate. It will be a silent round, so this means that there won't be any OA. So, yeah, you all will know your results later in this evening, I think, if not mistaken, when they announce the breaks. So, yeah, thank you, everyone, so much for the debate. Yeah, have a great rest of the day. Okay, bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.